So I realized at that point when I was in high school that a single chemical reactions can change the world. For example, this currently in our world we have roughly over 7. Some of the family they lost literally like half of the family just like that.
That's ridiculous.
So that's probably why people say I can get it. You take the COVID vaccine.
What do you think makes you satisfied at that age?
True, this is very, very philosophical questions. If you ask me these questions when I'm drunk, probably I would say something else. Make me the Prime Minister of India.
Welcome to an episode on the Estelle Ingenuity Podcast. I'm Stephen Estelle, engineer, CEO, and founder of Estelle Ingenuity. In our episodes, we dive into different experiences from people who specialize in technology, entrepreneurship, and other necessary elements that will help you reach your full potential in these fields. We focus in on innovative devices that will be changing our society, stories from entrepreneurs and how they maneuver through the business landscape, and how these new technologies are being used in businesses to bring value to the world. From these stories, if you are inspired to develop your own inventions and prototypes, and you want to see your innovative ideas flourish, reach out to us at estelleingenuity.com for your prototyping needs so together we can begin creating the new devices of the future. With that being said, enjoy the show, follow and subscribe to Estelle Ingenuity Podcast, and relish the wisdom from the topic you hear today. When I was first started my undergrad and I was going into biomedical engineering, I actually had a really big intention and idea of like really trying to cure cancer, this whole idea. And I feel like, of course, there's so many different approaches where of course we have our current approaches now with chemo and all that stuff. But from talking to the researchers when I was at the University of Iowa, they were talking about one guy was trying to use the engineering approach where they were using the sheer stress or like the friction of for our experiment, a needle, when you pass tumor cells, circulating tumor cells through this needle. And he found that the circulating tumor cells are like larger in size than the normal cells that we're using. And we found that by passing it through just a small channel, the stress from the walls was actually like deteriorating tumor cells.
Very interesting.
Yeah. Now, there was like a limitation, like let's say they're 1-to-1, and then as we pass it, it'll be like 80% of the tumor cells, and then goes down and down. And then it will like kind of stop around like 50%, then just kind of stayed at that level. So that was like one approach for trying to tackle like cancer. I've seen other ones online where they're just saying diet is like the best preventative.
Yeah, I think,
and I never, of course, tested any of it myself, so I can't validate, eating super healthy.
Yeah.
I just don't know.
Right. It's difficult to say, to be honest. Diet can be different. In some cases, they say, this kind of comes. For example, in Okinawa, there are so many these, they call
the blue zones?
Yeah, the blue zones. And really like good fruits and good foods that you can eat to make your life healthy. But I think cancer is one of the things, it can happen. It's like a luck, probably.
Just happens.
Yeah, just happen. Bad mutations and you can get a tumor. And in many cases, of course, this outside effect can affect, can be food, can be a bad lifestyle, but in many cases, it just it's happened.
I wonder if it's more so of not eating healthy, but more so of avoiding bad food, if that makes sense. Do you think it doesn't even matter? Or do you think it's not even like a variable?
I don't have much knowledge about, but if I say yes, probably avoiding bad food. Could be. I mean, it's a well-known fact. For example, if you avoid alcohol, so probably you probably avoid liver cancer or something. It's definitely
smoking.
The smoking. The cigarette. The lung cancer. So of course, in some of the bad, so-called bad food or lifestyle, you can you can maybe eliminate or reduce, so you can get it probably in a right direction. Like, you may be lucky, so you probably kind of elevate your percentage of being lucky.
I see what you mean. Okay, yeah, it's more like, okay, that makes sense.
But it just like, if it's happened, it's happened. It's meant to be. There is nothing you can do. Like, there are people who usually say, like, I've been smoking my whole life. But see, it didn't happen. My grandfather smoked and drink every day. Nothing happened. 110. And you, like, that's what I was saying.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Like, this is luck, man. There's like, nothing you can do.
That's fair.
And that's why we need medicine and technology, probably. If you're unlucky, science can help you.
I like this point of view. I feel like not a lot of people actually come from that point of view. A lot of the times it's understandable, but a lot of times people are saying, eat well to prevent these things, and that makes sense. And a lot of people are like, I'm against medicine. Well, not against medicine, but like, I don't want to take
medicine.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But that's actually a good point of view, where some things just happen.
Yeah, something definitely. I feel like there are a lot of things that it's not in our control. For example, these, the blue lights coming, the UV rays coming from the sun. Nothing you can do.
Yeah, just the human experience.
Human experience, yeah. You cannot go every time using sunscreen, and maybe the sunscreen is like 90% effective.
Right.
But there's a slight chances always that it can go wrong.
Yeah, you miss the spot.
Yeah, you miss the spot. and there's a tumor. And then,
yeah, right. I mean, that sucks. We're like,
no. So you just have to be lucky in life. That's literally it is. It's like, we are alive, so it's kind of luck in every second, every day, probably.
Yeah.
It's a chance that we might die.
Interesting.
So, there's always a chance that it can go wrong, but the science should be there to help you, or to help anybody who needs it.
Okay. I really like this perspective, because, I hear a lot of arguments of like, don't take medicine.
Yeah.
And then hearing this is just like, sometimes it's out of your control. So let's just have a plan B.
Right.
I really like that.
If you really don't need it, no need to take it. But also you have to understand that medicine has a really good effect. For example, otherwise most of us probably will not be alive today, because they like, whereas as kids, babies, they need a lot of probably now like medicines, probably antibiotic and things, so that there are no infections and all. And also probably otherwise our life will not be that comfortable, because of course we have a very strong immunity at a certain age, but after that it slows down. Otherwise we cannot live probably 90 years without some sort of like protections at the end. If you don't need it because probably you have a genetic advantage, that's totally fine. But not everybody comes from it, that genetic advantage. Superiority. Yeah. For example, Okinawan, they live probably 110 without any medicine. I'm not sure.
The sequoia.
Yes, it's a blue zone, but not everybody living in blue zone.
Yeah, everybody has sequoia.
Right, everybody. Yeah, exactly. They probably comes from a really advantageous, like a lifeline or something. So obviously, probably if I live in Okinawa, I'm not gonna live 100 years.
Right. I feel that. Right. So actually, I'm curious about that. So I just got a lot of questions to ask, but I need to make sure not to forget them. So I'm gonna come back to that blue zone question.
Yeah.
But to kind of finish what we were just talking about there, about people who I guess see medicine as bad, and I get it, because you see a commercial and there's like side effects just down the whole screen. But when it comes to, and I guess just in general, maybe some medicines have side effects more than others. Do you feel like, in your opinion, people who don't want to take medicine, do you think it's out of fear? Do you think maybe they just don't understand? Or do you think it's like there's other options that they just prefer to take and the medicine is just the plan Z?
Yeah, I feel like, so usually people has this tendency to avoid something whether they have had some sort of knowledge which is associated with a bad thing, or like, my friends used to take this one and he is dead now, or something like that. He has a bad reaction, allergic reaction, maybe I should avoid this kind of medicines. But the problem was, it's maybe not the full picture. Maybe he or she taken some sort of medicine which his body probably is not, probably comfortable with.
Right.
So it can be, but I feel like usually people avoid which they don't have a really full knowledge about it. And probably the trust issue is always like, it's like, okay, we don't want to disrupt any natural process of the body unless it's literally I'm dying. Don't bring me medicine.
I get you. So, I gotta ask. I'm curious. Do you think when we talk about COVID, the whole vaccine,
right.
we kind of had this whole worldwide like anti-vaxxer versus pro-vaxxer.
Oh yes, that's kind of strange to be honest. It's like, it's kind of funny. As a scientist, I was like, of course, there are no other choices. It's not like COVID, these vaccines will protect you 100%, but it's not about the cure. It's about you don't get sick. So the hospitals are not full. So if you get sick all the time, maybe it's not really a really bad thing. You can be curable, but it's like if there's 1 million people in the hospitals goes for probably extra oxygen, then we run out, and for small things you're gonna die.
I get you. So how would you go against the people who? Because I've talked to many people.
Obviously.
Many people.
This is like where you participate at some
point. Like, and so another side that people were telling me were about, of course, the potential side effects. It was on the news.
Yeah.
They got the vaccine and they had a heart attack.
Right.
The side effects.
Yes. I think I agree that in some cases there are unfortunate events that can happen because all the things comes with some sort of like a bad thing with it. If it's a 99% is good, but in one cases it might go bad, and probably you are the one who took it. And
sadly,
of course, we are like Homo sapiens, but I think our bodies are slightly different from each other.
Right.
The same medicine, same ingredient will be a good thing for you, but might not be really effective for me.
Right.
So. I understand, people, they're probably like, it's probably not a big threat right now. Why would I be in a situations that I have to compromise, or maybe, I have to take this, maybe 5% of the bad thing. There's a chance, yes, maybe I'm healthy, but I kind of see from a point of view, but as a community, I think that's our responsibility to take the vaccine.
I get you.
That other people will be safe.
Like take that 95% chance. I get that. And I had the similar approach. But when I did hear about people who are saying like, there's side effects, it's not tested. And, I can't understand that. It's so like for me, even though I got the vaccine, I did understand why people didn't want to. Right. Not saying that I agreed or not saying it was bad or good, but I was able to come to an understanding of why they chose so, and especially if they had a personal experience, because even just seeing it at the workplace where people were getting vaccinated, the next 2 days they were sick,
right?
And some people had stronger. I didn't have any, but I know people who were just bedridden.
Yeah, it's also like in the bed for more than 24 hours. It's really severe reactions for the second dose.
Right. Yeah. So when I see that stuff and. I do get it, and then they're like, oh, well, if I'm bedridden, what if I am like really bedridden? If I'm already sick myself?
Yes.
But I do, so that's the kind of the hard part.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's always, there is no 100% truth to it because also I feel like people has a lot of, obviously, this misinformation, and also because, usually people are like, you said to make a drugs or something, it takes 10 years. But COVID just happened in 1 year, and you got the drugs.
Right, it's like, where did it come from? Like, poof, right?
It comes
Was it planned?
It's a plan already.
Yeah.
Well, I was surprised, like, they really made the vaccines, like, super fast, like, less than a year, probably. They come to the market in 1 year.
Yeah, they spun that out.
Yeah, it's also probably, it was like a super emergency situation, because this is like a epidemic.
It was like fund this, make it
this,
for us.
This is the priority.
Move it to the front of the line.
Exactly, because almost everybody was affected by it.
Yeah.
So I can understand, when you're like focusing on one thing, it can make things happen. Or for example,
especially if you're collaborating.
And this is like in the world's first priorities to get a vaccine. So of course, 10 years can be 1 year because a lot of issues of making a drug is kind of a logistic and manpower. So, but also it was like very surprised to see that, and probably that's one of the reasons people like, the companies didn't check their, the bad side effects. like maybe 10 years later, I might not walk.
Or right, and you're like sterile.
Yeah, sterile or something. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. I get it. Yeah.
So there are like there are a lot of like your mind always wander.
I got my shots.
And maybe my heart gonna stop beating maybe 2 days later. I never know.
Right. Were you like? I mean, were you suspicious?
I was definitely a bit suspicious, but also as a scientist and as something. Yeah, there's like, general thought to it, like, COVID is not so bad, maybe, but there are like, because the point was not just only for me, it was also probably there are a lot of older people, like my PI, for example. Yeah. So she is much older than me, and probably definitely her immune system is much lower, and I'm interacting every day. Right. So like, I don't want to kill her.
Indirectly. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Because I need to finish my PhD.
The ulterior motives.
Yeah. I get it was like, it's okay. So I took the chances like this way, like.
I see the point.
So it's like, if I don't take it and then ended up maybe, spreading even more of a bad mutating virus, which is not really a really good idea.
Right. No, that's interesting. So I'm actually curious to ask you now. So, and like the flu, you have to take an annual shot. Are you going to continue to take?
I was not taking. Stopped it. I'm like, now the pandemic is under control.
Yeah.
So the initial,
there's no like urgency.
Yeah, not urgency. Now the hospitals are relatively fine.
Yeah.
And probably let's wait a bit, because of course there are like a lot of other viral infections, for example, influenza and related things happen every year.
Yeah.
But we don't take, like, I don't take shots every year.
I don't, but I feel like I should, but I haven't in a while.
So maybe at some point I would like to take it, because also,
especially in Japan, it's free healthcare.
Yeah.
What are we doing? But yeah, I guess.
Yeah. So that's very interesting, though.
Yeah, because I was thinking about that myself, where I remember they were passing out. So I think I have 3 doses total. I think I got 3.
3 doses. Yeah, I also got 3.
I think I got 3 stamps in my book.
3, and then there was like, would you like to take the 4? I'm like,
right, I'm done, right?
Because it's like, so you only take 2. They didn't say that there will be a booster dose later, right? Because initially it comes with 2. Like you take 2 in maybe like 2 months or 3 months in between. Yeah. I was like, okay, it's fine. 2 is fine. I'm like COVID free. But guess what? When I got COVID,
but you still got it.
Yeah.
But what's the point? The point of the vaccine was to lessen it, right?
Yeah. Okay. So I didn't get a really bad reaction. It was really mild, but I don't know.
Oh yeah, and it makes you wonder, like okay, if I wasn't vaccinated,
right? Yeah.
What would
it's like maybe it would have been really bad, because I know back in India, one of my friend who used to study bachelor's with me, so he died, was like same age as me. Yeah, it's like. When I was like, whoa.
I heard it was really bad in India.
Bad. Because that's the point, because a lot of people, there's, I'm not sure what scientifically it's called, but they needed artificial oxygen.
Yeah.
And there are like a lot of people who got admitted to the hospital at the same time, and literally they run out of this artificial oxygen. So it's not a severe thing, but if you don't have an oxygen, so people are going to die. Because it's like, so that thing happened to him, and there are a lot of other people as well. So COVID,
oh my god,
yeah, it's super bad.
Yeah, so, I saw on the news. It was I don't know the number, and I just remember hearing about my friends here who were from India, and they were saying like, yeah, my family lost 3 people that we knew. My friends lost 5.
Literally, I know some of the family they lost literally like half of the family, just like that.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. So
oh my.
So that's probably why people say, I can get you take the COVID vaccines, because a lot of people also, it takes time, because I think in Japan we got the vaccines quite faster, but in India it takes time, because they're also making vaccines with collaboration with other companies. So it took a bit time to arrive in India.
I get you. And then distributing it.
So
the densities.
But initially the number of people who got admitted to the hospital was a really huge number, and the system just couldn't cope up with it, because they are not designed for like few 100 million people or something.
Wow. Yeah, just hearing about all of that, and it it is. It's like mixed feeling because like we're saying now, we're like, okay, why am I going to take more boosters? Now I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah.
But then like during the time where people were like just dying, by the bundle, but
yeah, it's really really sad.
that was a wild couple of years.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Of course. Well, like we're living in Okinawa in a small island. Of course, the death rates and things are very low here. But seeing things back home, back other countries, like family and friends are doing a really bad time for us here. Because I used to like when these things are happening back in India, and my family were also alone, and of course my family didn't get infected, but I know
That's
like
good.
the neighbors died because of COVID.
Your family's neighbors?
Yes.
Okay.
So I knew them. Like they're like not really relatives, but they're like neighbors.
I get you.
Yeah. So like like one night, say like he was admitted to the COVID hospital because they were like. At the time, government kind of specialized some hospitals for COVID people only. So he was admitted to that, and 10 days later he was dead. And then there's another people who died also similarly. So it kind of really panicked me as well. I'm like, just take the vaccine as soon as it's available. Don't be, be any miscommunications with anybody. Like, oh, don't take vaccine. It's not good for your body, but you might be safe just for that. You never know.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to hear that your family was safe.
Yeah, they are not safe. But I think they got also a COVID at some point. But after the vaccine, so it was not that severe.
I gotta admit, during the COVID pandemic, I did not get COVID. But I got a false positive, though.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It said it was positive, but I had to take a retest, and it showed negative with the more advanced one.
Right.
Yeah, it was one of those things where I felt like I was like watching my back, because it's like I haven't got COVID, so am I more susceptible? I was like very terrified.
Oh, maybe you have a really good, a strong immunity.
I don't know.
Yeah, like you didn't get the COVID. That's really good.
Yeah, I would say the one trick I would say washing hands.
Yeah.
Really.
Like for 20 seconds that say
the whole like ABCs kind of thing. I mean,
not even all the time.
Not even that, but it's more so like I will say this: I wash my hands probably more often than the average person.
Oh,
I can say that. Like when I go home, I don't know why I start this, but the first thing I do is wash my hands.
Yeah,
it's
I also do wash my hands, but sometimes like 25 seconds is too much.
Yeah, I don't think the ABCs, but yeah.
25 seconds is too much, man.
It's a long time.
Yeah, why this, like 10 seconds is manageable. Sometimes 25, it's fine.
You got somewhere to go, so you're just like...
But, yeah, I understand. That's probably the mistakes, That's why probably I got the vaccine, like the COVID in the first place, but...
I'll take this one.
Yeah.
Just that one slip up.
That was the end of an episode of the Estelle Ingenuity Podcast. Hope you learned something new and innovative and were left inspired to go create and invent new ideas for the betterment of society. Make sure to follow and subscribe to the Estelle Ingenuity Podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube for more stories and experiences from people in the field and to hear about new up-and-coming technology. Thank you for listening and see you in the next podcast episode.